Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator, and welcome back to Total Party Skills. I just need like another 400 subscribers to reach a goal, so if you can help out, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Otherwise, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Spelljammer. I had just read through and reviewed the new 5th edition Spelljammer box set, and while it certainly has its flaws, those flaws are often kind of indicative of greater trends that are kind of unspooling throughout the entire corporate structure of all business, let alone just entertainment. And so on that level, I can kind of overlook some of that just to try to get down to the core of, is this actually useful to me as a dungeon master? In which case, yes. It updates the classic 2nd edition Spelljammer rules enough to 5th edition that I find it functional, and even if it leaves a few things out, I don't necessarily miss them that much, and the races it introduces aren't all that terrible, even though there's still plenty others they could have introduced and have still been left out. And it's kind of along those lines of why I want to bring this up. They've got a trio of books down here that are the old AD&D 2nd edition Spelljammer version source books that you can get as PDFs or print copies off of DriveThruRPG that might help you enhance your 5th edition Spelljammer campaign, especially if you're a DM who's still relatively new. You might have a couple of regular D&D campaigns under your belt or something, but Spelljammer is like just something you might have heard about, but you've never actually really encountered before. And now you're trying to dip your toes in, and you want to find out the other stuff that's not there in these new 5th edition rule books. And so, as I say, these old AD&D books, you can go look them up, and they can probably help you out in one form or another. The first one, the primary one, I guess I would say, would be the Complete Spacefarer's Handbook. Admittedly, the first third of it is, a bunch of stuff that's very, 2nd edition rules dependent, so you can kind of skip over a lot of it. There is stuff on a lot of the various Spelljammer races, though, that have been around a while since back then. It'll give you some more details on, their cultures and attitudes and stuff like that. The real thing, though, is the rest of the book. A big, long section on just, like, the general logistics of spacefaring and, securing provisions, making sure, you got enough air, all that kind of stuff. All sorts of spacefaring organizations, cults, mercenary groups, pirate groups, other things that are, once again, kind of hinted at in the 5th edition box set, but actually told about in here. And also advice on, how to structure out a campaign for Spelljammer. Spelljammer, because of the nature of how the setting is, it does have some concerns, I guess you could say, that come along with designing campaigns for it, considering that it's much, much, much more open-ended in a way than a regular D&D game set on a flat two-dimensional map surface of, just whatever world that your characters are on. Here, they can literally just say, what, screw this. We're just going to go to a completely different planet that has got a completely different vibe and completely different stories and adventure potentials, and as a DM, you gotta learn how to plan for that and all that kind of stuff. And this book's got a lot of advice for that kind of shit. Another one that's handy, out of all their adventure modules for Spelljammer from back then, I would recommend Skull and Crossbones. The adventure scenarios in here, there's a ton of them, and they're all real simple, to the point, quick write-ups, easy to readapt to modern rules and modern monster stat blocks. Plus, it just gives you a bunch of ready-made pirate crews and other kind of NPCs that you don't have to put a lot of thought into. You can just lift them right out of here, slap their names on a modern-day monster blocks stat set, and suddenly, bam, you got adventures and encounters galore. And if you're looking for a dedicated Spelljammer setting to give you a better impression of what, wild space is like, because another thing I would say that the Astral Adventures Guide does not do a good job of is portray, pretty much anything about, what the actual environments to be encountered in wild space could be. It doesn't have any information really on what else is in the star system that realm space, is Kryn space, you through adventure modules, you might know about the main core planet, but what's going on at its moons and sister worlds, and exactly what is its sun? Is it really a sun, or is it a giant glowing goblet of the gods, or some kind of shit like that? The Mundi, which was a box set, but you can get printed as just one big book, is a very thorough, very widespread, ton of locations, self-contained Spelljammer setting in a star system that's got 2 suns, multiple major human empires, illithid empires, beholders, hundreds of potential locations because of all the asteroid belts and moons and gas giants and stuff. It actually does some stuff where, like, the gods that are local to that star system, they all have constellations around the outer perimeter of the crystal shell that used to surround wild space zones back in the older days of Spelljammer. I guess now it would be up to you whether or not you want it to still be contained and blocked off somehow from the astral realm, or if you just still wanted it so that it's just another star system you can go to, basically. It has a little something of everything, and as I said, just as an example, or to give you things that you can lift out of it and stick in other worlds and other settings, it's full of material to use, plus a couple of big, cool, end of the star system kind of plot lines from 2 different factions wanting to blow up one son or the other. There's certainly worse picks that you could have gone with, and it's what I would have made Spelljammer into if, like, by some weird miracle, some random thing happened and Mr. Wizards of the Coast showed up at my house and was like, hey, you want to redesign 5th edition for us? And I'd be like, well, I'd put Spelljammer entirely in the Astral Mundi cluster, and then that way you don't have to deal with figuring out what to replace the Phlogiston with and all stuff. You just have a self-contained Spelljammer setting in its own little bubble. But I guess that's about it. Like I said, 3 books that you can use to enhance your Spelljammer campaign if you're looking to dip your toes into the astral seas. And I guess on that note, hit buttons below. And until next time on